All right, friends, the unimaginable occurred 1 week ago. Today, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings on the somber anniversary. So 12:23 p.m. Utah time. Single shot rang out, and the rest is history. I know exactly where I was. It was 11:55 Nevada time. I was actually, halfway around the world when my sister texted me with what had happened. And it's been 7 days, and I can't say it's getting any easier, but I have this thought that this keeps coming back into my mind, which is an admonishment to conservatives, to those of us who are MAGA, to unify in Charlie's name instead of this endless, insufferable bickering. I don't need to hear a war of, who and what and to whom Charlie said X, Y, Z, or the other thing as it related to Israel, as it related to these mysterious donors that are supposedly influencing matters within the conservative movement. When we've had one of the most influential leaders of modern conservatism get gunned down by a trans fanatic activist. To me, this is cut and dry. We know the score. We know and understand where the dangers lie. And it's not just for those of us in the public eye. It's for every single person who has an interest in bringing America back to the center. When I say the center, I mean common decency. I mean morality. I mean patriotism. These used to be the things that right and left agreed on. I understand the unity. I cannot achieve unity with someone who wants me dead. But I can appeal to those people that are on my side of the aisle, who I think now are either for personal reasons exploiting all of this or are just off in the deep end somewhere. If you're talking about the Jews, if you're talking about Israel, and it's been less than a week since Charlie was assassinated, what the hell are you doing? I don't want to get angry here, but this is beyond the pale. I got people posting up there. Well, Charlie Kirk wrote me this, and he said this, and he thought this about Israel. That is not the issue. If you look at where we are right now, our kids are literally being indoctrinated by left-wing fanatics. We have the top head of the teachers union in the U.S. penning a piece about you and me, calling us fascists. Literally, after all of this goes down, writing a book and publishing articles to that end. We have left-wing NGOs, non-governmental organizations, pumping untold millions of dollars, pushing Marxism. Have you seen the polling? Communism, socialism, Marxism more popular than ever among a growing segment of the population. Radical gender ideology, pushing this nihilistic idea on our youths, our young and vulnerable people, that gender doesn't matter. In fact, nothing matters. Everything's mutable. Everything's changeable. There is no constant. Words don't mean anything. It is a complete and total attack on everything. that matters to me, and I know that matters to you. And against this backdrop, whatever differences we have about Israel, for example, who cares? I'm not saying it's not an important issue. It certainly is to me, but come on. Why is it that we conservatives never miss an opportunity to shoot ourselves in the foot? Here we have not an opportunity even. Here we have a mandate to unify and to win. This was always about winning. You go back and look at Charlie's videos. What was Charlie Kirk doing beside talking to people and trying to get young people excited about politics and come to his side, convince people away from the darkness, lead them toward conservatism, toward religion, toward faith? The other big push in his movement was to get people out to vote. Because you can't do diddly squat if you don't have the power. And this is the problem with conservatives. I'll be honest with you. We have to have a reckoning here. It's a self-own. We just cannot stop quibbling and arguing and bickering among each other. And the left, they fall into line. They click their heels together. Of course, I understand they're mind-numbed robots, but they do it. And and they go in and what do? They make it happen. Now, I love that we have dissent and I would say of diversity of thought and opinion within the conservative party. I think that this is I love it, and I actually prefer to spend time with and to engage with people with whom I disagree. Now, again, just to repeat this, I can't talk to people who are, openly, gleefully celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. I just can't do it. But I can talk to people who have a different view on Israel than I do. I can talk to somebody who has a different take on the Epstein files. I can talk to different conservatives about their different views. It's good, it's fine, it's great. But when it comes time to getting stuff done, why are we fighting one another? J.D. Vance wrote a couple hours ago on X, "To my friends on the political right, I understand the feeling that people are putting words into Charlie Kirk's mouth. At some level, I agree and share your frustration. Try to remember, a lot of people love Charlie. It's natural for them to debate his views and his legacy. In fact," and again, this is J.D. Vance writing, "I think Charlie would welcome that. But for now, let's celebrate our friend, remember his impact, and save the debate for after his funeral." I like this too. That's really important. It's a dignity thing. But even after the funeral, even after we have, weeks of reflection, it's hugely important, coming up to the midterms and then preparing for 2028, which will be the Rubicon moment. That'll be the fork in the road. Do we cement in the Trump legacy? Do we really save America, or was this just a last blip of hope and we turn the country back over to the likes of Gavin Newsom? I like to think beyond the immediate moment. And sometimes it's the expense, at my own expense. I don't, certainly a lot of this stuff that people are bringing up is getting them a lot of attention. That's not the game I play. And I think what I've just said here is hugely important. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, the What's Right Show, is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Folks, this was a difficult clip to listen to, but I'm going to share it with you because I think it's profound and meaningful. Sam Mirejovsky here, by the way, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Listen, this whole week has been hard. What am I going to tell you? So, obviously, 1 week ago today, Charlie Kirk gunned down at UVU in Utah. We're all reeling from this, obviously. Here is a clip from a close friend who describes himself who describes Charlie Kirk as one of his sons. He was there when Charlie Kirk was shot. And I'm sharing this here because it's powerful. Frank Turek, who is a Christian author, said this earlier today. And again, pay close attention to every word.
I have 3 sons. He was like my 4th son. My 3 sons are a little bit older than Charlie. He was like my 4th son. So when he was hit, if your son got hit, what would you do? What would you do? I got in the car. Because if there was any way I could save him, I had to do something. So they got him into the side of the car. It was an SUV. It was the SUV we took over. And there's 5 of us in the car now. Justin is driving. Dan is up front with the GPS. Rick has got him. Rick's on my left. And Brian is there. And I'm coming over the back seat. And Charlie's laid out in front, just right in front of me. And Charlie's so tall, we can't close the door. We drove 4 miles, I don't know, it's 4 something miles, all the way to the hospital with the door open. To this day, I don't know how Brian stayed in the car because we're just go, 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 go. We're trying to stop the bleeding. You saw it. And I'm yelling, come on, Charlie, come on, come on.
Can you imagine? It's gut-wrenching. So they're blowing through these intersections, racing to get to the hospital. It's about 4 miles. Here's what happens next.
At one point, somebody says, let's get there in one piece because we're cutting through intersections. We're just beeping the horn. This is not an emergency vehicle. There's no lights. There's none of this. And I go, we got to start CPR. So I try and start that. Now, Charlie wasn't there. His eyes were fixed. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me right into eternity. He was with Jesus already. He was killed instantly and felt absolutely no pain. That's what I was told later. But of course, we had to try. And by the way, there was just nothing any of us could do about it. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. It wasn't like if we had better first aid or we had better medical facilities or we were faster to the hospital, we could have saved him. We couldn't. So if that's any comfort at all, Charlie didn't suffer. The doctor later said that we got a pulse because Charlie was a very healthy man, but the shot was catastrophic. So 20 or 30 minutes later, the surgeon came out and said he was dead.
It's just, can you imagine? And I'm listening to this, of course, and it's rare that I find it difficult to to express my thoughts. But I'm playing it because we have to understand the evil that we are up against. There are people that would hear this, listen to this, listen to a man watch his friend die, and express glee over it. And I'm playing this because this underscores the point of what we are up against, and that we have to stick together. And that means Tucker, and it means Candace, and it means, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey. We're just splintering off into these little pieces, the movement in little pieces, and everybody pointing fingers and arguing. And the only people that will win are the people that have Antifa on their side. The left will win. The more we bicker, the more we fight. Now, an hour or so ago, Glenn Beck filled in for Charlie Kirk on the Charlie Kirk Show. So on Real America's Voice, Beck tearfully brought out a little silver carrying case. And he said he brought something in to the studio. Listen to this.
Brought something with me today that I thought was appropriate while I did the show, that I would sit in front of Charlie's microphone. It was given to me after the death of Rush Limbaugh by his wife. It is Rush's golden microphone.
Glenn Beck puts it down, the golden EIB microphone, in front of Charlie Kirk's empty chair.
I think it's appropriate that it sits in front of Charlie's microphone.
I think it's appropriate too. Charlie Kirk many years ago said he wanted to be the next Rush Limbaugh. And one of the things Glenn Beck said today, that he surpassed Rush in his reach and his appeal. He was so young, what he achieved in his short life. It's just unbelievable. What they took from us, from the world, cannot be easily replaced. And it has to be worth something. There has to be something that comes from this. And there already is. There's an outpouring of people that are now discovering, who maybe some people who'd never even heard of Charlie Kirk, who are now watching his videos. And because there's so much content and it's out there and it's getting shared, there are now millions of new people that are being persuaded by Charlie Kirk posthumously. They're coming over to our side. And those of us that are already here have got to lock our you-know-what up and stop this bickering. I keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. It's so important. Now, I'll tell you, the Israel thing, I'll give you my quick thoughts on this when we come back. Just my quick thought, because what I don't like, where this is starting to go, some of these conservative criticisms, it's starting to get to me to a place that is beginning to resemble the left. We're better than this, okay? So I'll give you my thoughts on that when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your personal injury case. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Hi, welcome back. The What's Right show, powered by Sam & Ash Injury Law, is on. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X. If you're not on X, get on X today. Make it happen. Plus, I always post news about the show from my account and let you know what's going on. So a good place to be if you care for updates on what we're doing over here. So, yes, okay. Let me play. I got to play this clip. I want to dispense with this right away. I don't want to dwell on Tucker Carlson, but I want to play a clip yesterday from his show talking about Bill Ackman. Now, Bill Ackman is a billionaire. He is I think a lifelong Democrat who has left the party. He is one of many people, maybe not one of many billionaires, but certainly one of many Americans who is done with the Democrats. Now, the only way that we win elections moving forward, the way Trump did it in 2024, is by going after disaffected Democrats. It's a very simple, straightforward formula. The Trump Republican Party today resembles, a JFK presidency administration more than anything. The traditional Democrats have no home in the new Democratic Party. The Democrats I grew up with would be, if I were to, some I know still, are appalled by what the Democratic Party has become. And so there are people, there are influencers in the conservative movement who are looking to start fights and purity tests. I think that's the best way of putting it. Some sort of litmus test on who is more OG MAGA. And my opinion is, generally speaking, we want to bring people into the country. Into the party. We want to bring people in, and we will take the support. Now, there's this controversy. I mentioned it yesterday. It's back in the news again today because Candace Owens started a fight with Bill Ackman. Now, it's not even fair to put it in those terms. What she really did was, I think, say something that was largely untrue, which is that Bill Ackman invited Charlie Kirk and other conservative influencers to a summit in the Hamptons a month ago, where he berated Charlie Kirk and others about their shifting positions on Israel. Now, I have so far not seen any evidence that Charlie Kirk actually shifted his position. And people close to Kirk deny that there was anything like what was described by Candace Owens occurring. Multiple people have released multiple screenshots of text messages to me. The whole thing just irritates me because it seems a little bit like high school. And everybody has to respond to Candace Owens because, unfortunately, she's got this massive platform. But here are my 10 cents on it. There is money in media. Now, I'm very lucky here because I have a day job, my law firm, which also happens to sponsor the program. So I don't really have anybody telling me what I can and can't say. I don't. I have complete freedom. For every person out there who is doing, to some extent what I'm doing and requires donors to fund it, is somewhat reliant on those donors being happy. That we suddenly discovered that donors have influence in media organizations, to me, is kind of silly. Of course they do. It's a tale as old as time. And it's got Tucker Carlson suddenly on the scene going, this is not okay that these donors are coming in and pushing around conservative voices to support Israel on behalf of the Israeli government, which is another stretch, perhaps too far. But regardless, there is a particular moment in Tucker's show yesterday that caught my attention. I'm going to call this out because I don't like it. Tucker Carlson basically went on this little aside about Bill Ackman, who is a billionaire, he's a hedge fund guy. And he tries to explain why Bill Ackman is rich. Now, I know many of you love Tucker Carlson, and if Tucker Carlson is my opinion only. It sort of broke my heart. He's just gone a few times a little too far, in my view. And this is one of those times, because what he's saying here is something I would hear from liberals growing up about wealthy people. And I never liked it when they said it, and I don't like it when our people say it.
And the point I was making had nothing to do with Bill Ackman being a criminal or even being an Epstein friend. I mean, I don't really know anything about that. I don't know much about. I'm not accusing Bill Ackman of a crime, and I'm not accusing him of, being a sex creep or a Mossad agent or anything like that. I don't think that. I don't know that for sure. And I wasn't trying to say it. What I was trying to say is that Bill Ackman is not creative, not particularly intelligent. Bill Ackman is worth $7 billion. So you have to ask, how? And it seems to me that Bill Ackman is rich for the same reasons that a lot of other people I know are rich, because he's hyper aggressive and he's well connected.
Bill Ackman's very smart. But I'm going to set that comment aside. Also, the whole part about, well, he's not a pedophile, he's not an Epstein guy, I don't know, he might be. That whole thing to me is just innuendo, and we ought not traffic in it. But the idea that you would say as a conservative that I don't know how he earned his money kind of reeks of words that would come out of, let's say, Barack Obama's mouth or Hillary Clinton's. This concept that rich people, what's so special about him? Why does he have $1 billion? Why is he a millionaire? What did he do to deserve it? This is how libs talk. Why suddenly is Tucker Carlson and other people on our side of the aisle trafficking in this kind of classist, Marxist drivel? And incidentally, these are the same people that are stirring up crap with Israel. Oh, I wonder why. Side note, do you smell a little bit of anti-Semitism there? I mean, Bill Ackman's Jewish. I didn't know that right away, but apparently he is. And so if you just say, I mean, look, it just sounds like it. Like, oh, well, how is it possible? Robbie's looking at me funny. Sam, what are you going to say? Well, to me, it sounds like Tucker's saying, well, this Jew, he's not that intelligent. He's not that smart. How did he get $7 billion? Because he's, quote unquote, hyper aggressive and well connected. That smacks of an anti-Semitic trope. And even if it is an anti-Semitism, it certainly is, deeply soaked in Marxist-Leninist propaganda terminology. Enough of this. I'm done with it. And Tucker Carlson, phenomenally smart guy, a lovely person. If you ever have a chance to talk and with Tucker, he's just a kind, good man. So it pains me to say this. He needs to cut this out. And I understand that there is a faction within our movement that says, hey, we should stop sending money to Israel, America first. Okay, we can talk about that. That is a point we can debate. I'm more on the support Israel side, by the way. But when you start to do when the conversation moves to talking about Jewish billionaires being hyper aggressive and well connected and relatively stupid, and that's the only way they made their money, then you've lost me. Let the left do this, right? This is the way they talk. And by the way, on the subject of Israel, I'll keep saying this over and over again. To me, my money, my allegiance is with the country that has made repeated overtures to the other side to settle and make peace. My affection is for the people who have bent over backwards and tried actually to negotiate with terrorists, proving the time-tested adage that one must not negotiate with terrorists. Nothing good comes of it. But they tried over and over and over again. And in a moment of epic Israeli weakness, when you look at the days, the months before October 7th, you realize that Israel was in the throes of battle between conservatives led by Netanyahu and the liberals who wanted to have better relations and more open relations with Hamas, with the Palestinians, more rights for Gaza. This is all a fact. This is what was going on. And their guard was legitimately down. They were a nation divided over this. And by the way, it was the young idealist, young people. Yeah, young idealists, music lovers went to that music festival and they were the first to get slaughtered by the very people they advocated for. So again, when we talk about suicidal empathy, my money's on Western civilization. I align with the preservation of Western civilization. And for me, it's not a religious thing. It's a cultural thing. Israel is an outpost of Western civilization in a hotbed, in a sea, in the ground zero of Islamic expansionism. That's how I see it. By the way, it reminds me, have you seen this video of the mayor in Dearborn in Michigan? This is wild stuff. I don't know if we've got it in the archive. This is just an absolutely wild story. We'll play it one way or the other. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. Making radio great again, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Okay, I sometimes feel that we conservatives can be like the cats with the laser pointer. Somebody's pointing. I got Candace Owens, the little laser pointer, putting a red dot on the ceiling, and all the cats are jumping up at it, missing, of course, whatever else is of substance, of importance, that's right in front of us. We are in a cultural battle for survival. And we're really battling it on two fronts. We have an external force coming at us in an aggressive fashion, and that, of course, is the international expansion of Islam. I've talked about this for decades now, it seems, or at least now for the second decade. And I can say that the more we see about what's happening in Europe, what's happening, frankly, in parts of this country, in Canada, even now Japan has started to welcome Islamic immigrants, and they're wreaking havoc in that country. Everywhere that this has been tried, it's not going well. So it's a major problem. And, after George W. Bush, after September 11th, George W. Bush opened the gates under the guise of battling Islamophobia to having a number of Middle Easterners, refugees, come into the country. And Michigan was one of the states that was heavily settled by these Islamic immigrants. And to the extent that some of these cities there are now completely Islamic. Dearborn, Michigan, has a Muslim mayor, of course, a Democrat, and he yesterday in a meeting, in a contentious meeting where a street was going to be named, was getting renamed for a prominent Arab American journalist named Siblani, who came to the U.S. in 1976 and founded the Arab American News. He glorified Hezbollah, the folks that killed many, many Americans, terrorist organization, openly wished harm on Israel. He threatened to send Israeli Jews back to Poland. Last year at a rally in Dearborn, chants of death to Israel filled the air. The Siblani guy assured the crowd that Hezbollah would, quote unquote, take care of the job, which some observers described as a likely euphemism for violent eradication of the Jewish state. Anyway, they're naming a street in Dearborn, Michigan after this lovely man. And a citizen of the city, a resident of the city, a guy named, I believe it's Ted Barham, a Christian, raised his concerns with the mayor. Now, the mayor didn't quite hear him out, and the exchange has gone viral. This is how it went down.
Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Coexistence. Yeah. Oh, you don't believe in coexistence, you Islamophobe. So we want you out of here. Isn't it funny how the people that have cried about coexistence for so many years don't want to coexist with people who they disagree with? It's precisely my point. By the way, I saw this, can't claim credit for this, but I think this pattern has held true for about 1,400 years. There are 3 phases of Muslim immigration. Phase 1, there's only a handful. And of course, this is the phase of oppressed Islam. They play the victim. They claim Islamophobia. And they openly embrace tolerance of others. Then there's a second phase. They become a large minority. They become indignant. They threaten. They demand Sharia law. They become intolerant of infidels. That's me and you, by the way. Wink, wink. Phase 3, clear majority dominant Islam militant. Strict Sharia law. Kill and or subdue all infidels. I don't know, where's Great Britain? We got Trump in Great Britain. He's there on the ground. He's met with the king. He's there with Queen Camilla. They're having their lavish banquet probably right about now. And all I see, this is I wake up this morning, watch a little bit of TV. I see Trump there getting transported, in the golden carriage. All of the gilding, all the pomp and the circumstance that is so quintessentially British. But what's behind all of this? It's a country that is rotting away. It's a country that is arresting its lawful residents and citizens for posting memes. Someone, I guess, recently blurted out, something like, "Who the hell is Allah?" and was given jail time for that. Meanwhile, Muslims in England and Great Britain are allowed to pray on the grass in front of Christian churches, blocking entrances even. It's whack stuff. Phase 2, I think, is where the UK is. We might still be in phase 1. This is a big problem. And the unity, by the way, the unity that as strange of bedfellows as the Islamists and the trans Antifa people are, The reason they're united is that they both love to get their way via threats, via terror, via berating. You heard that, Mayor? You Islamophobe, get the hell out of here. Doesn't it sound just like all those nice pro-trans people yelling at Charlie Kirk in all those videos that we've seen? You bigot, you homophobe, you this, you that's all they've got is name calling. And when that didn't work, the bullets start flying. Look at Charlie Hebdo, Paris. Drew a few satirical cartoons. Everyone was murdered by the Islamists. Telling you, this is what we're up against. And we're arguing about who's paying what influencer or telling what influencer what to say. This is nuts. Conservatives, get a grip. By the way, just a couple more thoughts on Great Britain when we come back. Well, Trump is loving it, of course. And I'm loving it too. I love that he is there in Great Britain among all the wokesters, and they have to be nice to him and smile at him. This delights me. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the second hour here. Full speed ahead. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, Trump loves the monarchy. He loved Queen Elizabeth. This was for meeting Queen Elizabeth and traveling as a state visit to London, going to Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace. This for Trump was big deal. And it's in part to do with his generation, because once upon a time, the monarchy actually meant something. I remember as a kid, I was quite the monarchist. I was a traditional guy, valued the traditional role that the British monarch played. I've since sadly come to realize that King Charles is a bit of a degenerate. When you actually get these people to open their mouths, they're morons. They are. He blathers on about the environment. They're very progressive, okay? They're very, very progressive, very woke. And here's the irony of it. Charles, the royal family, we know about this a little bit from Meghan Markle, how they loathe Donald Trump. But they got to put on a nice face, brave face. They're stiff upper lip, receiving Trump and Melania, and are showing them a good time. And there's smugness, of course. But the people that are smug, the King Charles and the whole cabal there, are presiding over British decline. Just as Trump is in the room leading America's renewal. That's the dichotomy. And that is why Trump, when you look at the video, when you look at the powerful imagery coming from his time, his visit today, everything I've seen, the guy's walking around, Buckingham Palace like he owns the place. It's like, King Charles is 2 or 3 paces behind. Trump is talking to the King's Guard. He's there. He is the leader of the free world. It's quite the thing to see. I got an email just now from a listener, and it's a great point here about Starmer was sat apparently far down at the end of the table. And Bruce writing here, it seems the king is looking for Trump for guidance in this immigration crisis in their country. I don't know. I don't think that the king wants guidance from Trump. I think that Britain understands they need a good working relationship with the United States. And so have rolled out literally the red carpet. Now, some points about this, by the way, and apparently no red carpet at the airport. Keir Starmer nowhere to be found. Traditionally, the prime minister would be there meeting the president on the tarmac. That did not happen. Starmer, no doubt, is not a fan of President Trump, to say the least. But I think this more has to. Again, I think they're doing this. I think the Royals here are doing this, holding their noses, and I'm loving it. And I think it's great. And Trump is not the least bit bothered by it. And just going in there and being both gracious but also very powerful. And it's projecting strength. Every one of the leaders right now in Great Britain, even the opposition, I'm sorry, do not inspire confidence. Whether it's the king, if King Charles, or it's Keir Starmer, both just have very passive beta male vibes. But I want Nigel Farage to be more than he is, candidly speaking. Oh, and don't forget the head of the Conservative Party. She doesn't inspire any confidence either. So this is a country going into the toilet, all right? And so I'm putting it there. By the way, this all ties into the Oxford Union president. Remember last week, George Aberonier, who is a third-year philosophy, politics, and economics undergraduate. He's the president-elect of the Oxford Union. This is very, very prestigious. And he went online to immediately celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk. It was disgusting. Now, what does George Aberonier look like? Well, let's see. He's got dreadlocks. He's wearing some sort of a do-rag headpiece. By the way, this is a point because the attire is black tie when you're at the Oxford Union. And, you've seen, by the way, Charlie Kirk attended the Oxford Union, had a debate there. But you have to be in black tie. So he'll wear his black tie suit, but then he has these ridiculous dreadlocks. And I'll tell you that the guy here is, to me, not just a representation of what Britain has become. It's just a joke. But the broader leftist movement via affirmative action, for example, they have dumbed down the standards all for the sake of diversity and have devalued things that were formerly of value. It used to be a big deal to get into, let's say, Harvard. Is it anymore? By giving it away to people that are undeserving, people who would not be able to get in, but for their race, merit no longer matters. And this is this is a broader criticism of our society right now, the leftism and what has done to the country. This is what they want. They want to take away meaning. The nihilism that we talk about, they want to take away meaning for gender. They want to take away meaning for success. They want to take away meaning of life, meaning from words, all meaning gradually but systematically stripped from society. And then they can make things mean whatever they want to suit whatever the moment demands. This is classic leftism. It's what the communists did when they came to power across Europe, first in Russia after World War I. And then, of course, in Eastern Europe following World War II. Society was turned upside down. Even the family unit wasn't safe. The Soviets attempted at times to institute a program where children would be taken away from their parents, raised as wards of the state. Even the family unit lost meaning. So am I surprised that the Oxford Union president, Mr. George Aberonier, with his dreadlocks and little do cap, is celebrating the open murder of a person who had been a guest of the Oxford Union mere months ago? No, I'm not. It's all par for the course. These great institutions have to, in the eyes of the left, be diminished. And what better way to diminish them than to put and install in these institutions people who are wholly undeserving of being there in the first place? Makes a mockery of it. They do this. Again, they make a mockery of gender. They make a mockery of God. They make a mockery of parenthood. This is what we're up against. And speaking of Charlie Kirk, he did more in his short life to battle this than just about any other single person in this country. Respect. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Here is a term I want you to remember. I think we're going to hear more and more about this as time goes on. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Hi, I'm here. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email, at what'srightsam on X. Here's the phrase or the expression, nihilistic accelerationism. Now, what the hell is this? It is defined as an extreme and decentralized form of extremism. And it advocates for what? For chaos and violence for its own sake. Unlike traditional accelerationism, which tries to take down a system and replace it with an ideological alternative, nihilistic accelerationism is just destructive for the sake of destruction. Now think about this. When you hear from, for example, I mentioned this guy who is the president-elect of the Oxford Union, supposed to be one of the smartest people at Oxford. By the way, he's reading his speech. He's reading his remarks. He doesn't even have it memorized, which most people do when they speak there. But setting that aside, here's what he says.
To effectively create change in the world we desire. Inside Prop will argue that at times there is simply nothing else that can be required other than violent retaliation. And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with. The view that some institutions are too broken, too aggressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
Some institutions are so broken, so aggressive, so oppressive, they can't even be reformed. They must and should be taken down by any means necessary. That's what they want, right? Today, an interview with a person named Urmia Fanian, who is an Iranian trans student in Utah. And she's basically justifying LGBTQ violence. This is more of the same.
Some people say that it takes a violent protest to get people to listen. Do you agree, or should they remain peaceful?
I agree. I absolutely agree. You know, I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and our liberation and our rights came after the Stonewall riots. That's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, is that, you know, the LGBTQ movement started with Stonewall riots. I wouldn't even be able to be a student at this school if it wasn't for a violent riot that took place within a span of 3 days. So I absolutely agree that sometimes violent protests and really riots and those kinds of loud rebellions must take place for tangible change.
Right. So gays didn't attend school until the Stonewall riots. Is that what I'm hearing? Historical revisionism. But the point lies in the in the claims for violence, the calls for violence. Literally saying a violent riot. Well, if it takes a violent riot, so be it. That's what we'll do. We have people among us that are hell-bent on taking it all down. And I keep saying this over and over again. Conservatives, take note. While we're quibbling about who said what to who and who's the original OG MAGA or not, the left is planning the ultimate destruction of the West. And for now, by the way, for now, the Islamists will gladly get into bed with the nihilist crowd, with the accelerationist crowd, because they can, the nihilistic accelerationists can help the Islamists achieve their purpose, which is, Sharia law and a caliphate. You know who this girl is, by the way, or person is? She's the founder of Armed Queers Salt Lake City. And by the way, they are being investigated by the Department of Justice in connection to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Just fascinating stuff. Now, you would think with all of this going on, that people would start to tone down their rhetoric, but they're not. Here's a liberal podcaster named Destiny talking about what conservatives should fear in the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing.
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. Like, I don't know. It's like memes. It's just memes to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care. I'm playing video games.
I don't care. I'm playing video games. But the point is, they want us to fear. They want us to answer to violence. Just like the Islamists, by the way. I keep drawing this parallel. We got to wake the F up. They want us dead or quiet and obedient. Well, I'm sorry, it's not in our American DNA to just roll over and play dead. Do this up in Canada. Do it in Europe. They're fine with it, apparently. It pains me to say that. I wish it weren't so, but it seems that a number of Western countries have just rolled over and are playing dead. I don't think this is going to fly in America. I have not spoken to one person who does what I do, who is in conservative media, who in the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing has said to himself or herself, you know what, I think I'm going to lay low now. Not one person. In fact, quite the opposite. People are fired up. I know I am. So I think it's a bit of a fight. And it will very well may happen that America is the West's last stand. And we're going to think back to this year. We're going to think back to this month. We're going to think back to last Wednesday. These are watershed moments. These are critical they're critical times that we live in. And whatever amount of influence I have, I will use to see to it that our movement locks it up. Because and notice, by the way, one thing about Charlie Kirk, you go through all the videos and he really didn't go around slamming other conservative people. He tried to make peace with everybody. He wanted to work with everybody. He wanted to bring people together. He understood this. We win together. And I want to see, I want more of that. I'd like to see some of our most influential folks out there simply stop with all this divisive, divisive stuff. Apparently it's getting clicks, but it's not the right way forward. Now, maybe you are too. I'm not baffled by it. I am disgusted by the revisionism that is going on before our very eyes. The left is very good at this. You can see time and time again, you have prominent liberal media people out there, politicians, lying outright. For example, they will say that Charlie Kirk was murdered by a conservative MAGA activist. The guy was literally in a relationship with a trans woman who was also a furry, had a trans fetish, told people he hated Charlie Kirk because of his politics, had, moved away from his conservative family, had arguments with his conservative family, and yet this is the kind of stuff that they say. And now they're trying to lie about the outpouring of glee from the left over Charlie's killing. And we can't let them get away with this. I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about when we return. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program, Sam at what'srightshow.com. By the way, just had a great talk with a new client referred to Sam and Ash injury law. A really bad accident. This poor lady's got a fractured vertebrae, been going at it for a few weeks on her own, talking to the insurance company. It is not going well. I know. I talk to many of you who call in and have questions about your case. And, a common theme I hear is I'm just going to deal with it through my agent. I'm just going to talk to the insurance adjuster. If I am honest with them, they're going to treat me right. That is simply not how it works. These companies have a computer system. They put your information in it. A number gets spit out. You are just a statistic to them. You at least need to know what your rights are. So hear me out. There's one firm in town to trust. And even if we don't have an office by you, we can still help you. We can still assist you. We can give you some advice and point you in the right direction. 702-820-1234. 702-820-1234. If you've had something happen, if you've been dealing with it, if a friend, a family member, and you just feel like you're stuck in the mud, call today. Don't wait. It does not get better with time. And if it just happened, or gosh forbid it happens somewhere in the future, remember Sam and Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your injury case. All right, friends. The lying, Jimmy Kimmel Monday said, this was crazy. Gets up there and says, oh, yeah, Charlie Kirk was shot by another MAGA conservative. Everybody applauded, like trained seals. Such a lie. We already knew on Monday what was going on. We already knew about the bullets. We knew about the engraving. We knew that this kid had gone off the rails. Lies, lies, and lies. And now they're even trying to cover up the fact that there are people celebrating. Now, there was this was Abby Phillip yesterday. Scott Jennings and Phillip went at it. And Phil, this is great. Jennings right away asks the question. He frames this immediately. And here's how that goes.
Everybody here acknowledges that there have been thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, who have taken to social media to celebrate this, yes or no?
I don't know about that.
I
don't know.
I have high school friends who are.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I just think we should we got to be factual about this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you know the scope. I don't know the scope. But I do think that we have to distinguish between random people in the world and something that is a dominant issue.
Because the person who shot Charlie Kirk was a random person in the world, was he not?
Well, here's the thing.
That's the danger.
Random people here in Vegas. I know people who did this stuff. I know Scott Robin, Vital Vegas. I don't think I can ever talk to him again. Yeah, and by the way, yes, Scott, I'm naming you. He posted some vile stuff celebrating Charlie's death. I know him. How about Bobby Machado? He's the Robbie, do you know the story? I, for years, have been... He just got fired, by the way, from the VGK radio show, and he was a producer for my good friend JT the Brick. Bobby Machado. His firing could not happen, by the way, to a nicer person. I've mentioned the story a million times. I was at the station during the kind of the peak of COVID insanity, the masks and everything. And I go there, I'm spending money in the middle of the pandemic, advertising my business and helping and giving things away and going on the radio, getting meals for people. We were doing a lot of good in the community. Anyway, neither here nor there, I'm in the hallway there. And I'm talking to another person at the station, not going to name who, and our masks were down at our chin because we're having a normal human interaction and there's nobody around. Bobby Machado walks by us and does this aggressive, like, put your mask up. Put your mask up. You people COVID. Bobby Machado was on his way from a smoke break. This guy, the gall, he is smoking himself to death. His lungs probably look like an alley somewhere in the back streets of Beijing. And and he's like, oh, he wants us to care more about his health than he does. Classic. Okay? Now, I know people who rejoiced. I actually know their names. This is the most insane. Well, you don't know. These are just random people on the internet. So then Abby Phillips realizes that she's losing a battle.
Do you believe that in those political assassinations in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, assassination attempts, that there were no Americans who cheered that on? I think the question is whether or not it happens. The question is whether or not we need to place that at the very center of our political world right now.
We do. We do. And the people, I'm not going to play it again. I mean, because I have endless horrible examples of this. Because it is a one thing, right? We have one thing to have a terrorist, a political terrorist, come in and assassinate an influential leader of a political movement. Okay, just like the most reductive way of describing Charlie Kirk. But anyway, that's one thing. Bad, yes. It is disastrous for society to have millions of people cheering it on. It is. What about on Monday, the military children? These are the kids of a guy named Lieutenant Colonel Adam Cole. And this was even before, this started circulating, but this doesn't even have to, this to me was probably the saddest one. It wasn't even about Charlie Kirk.
I have the best news ever.
What? Donald Trump died?
Second best news.
The Vice President died?
Okay, third best news.
That Elon Musk died?
Okay, no. Nobody died. My best friend's getting married.
Which one is it?
Taylor Swift! Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged!
People like this, they're teaching their kids to hate. To me, this is existential crisis, okay? It's awful. These kids don't stand a chance. CNN's S.E. Cupp says it's bad that people cheering, who, by the way, the Dems say don't exist, are being punished for it. They're bad that they're losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera.
We have to debate our ideas. We have to be able to talk about the things that we disagree with. We have to do that civilly, but we can't punish people for disagreeing with us. We can't punish people for being jerks and celebrating the death of someone. That's not illegal, and that shouldn't be who we are.
Okay. Shouldn't be illegal to celebrate the open murder of a person in front of his wife and kids. Okay. You're right. It shouldn't be illegal, but it should disqualify you from polite society. No. Brandy Zadrozhny says the internet is not cheering for Charlie Kirk's death. This was on MSNBC. This lady's making the rounds as well.
I think if you look across media generally, you have seen a lot of people trying to grapple with Charlie Kirk's legacy and what that is as a right-wing agitator and as a provocateur and as, a strategist and the most important GOP figure besides Donald Trump, arguably ever. And so, or right now. And so there's a lot of grappling to do, but to suggest that the internet is cheering for this is just the opposite, total opposite of what's actually happening.
She's a radicalization expert, by the way. Grappling? You have people going, he's dead. So, no, they don't even want to admit to it. And I think it's because it's beginning to backfire on them. I've seen a lot of people go on social media now and talk about how they feel that the Democratic Party has gone off the deep end, and even people who are themselves are Democrats. And then I see something else happen, and I mentioned that this is one of the, I guess, unforeseen consequences of this vile terroristic murder. That is that a lot of people are coming out, finally looking at Charlie Kirk stuff, hearing that he was this terrible bigot, so they go and try to find the bigot material. We're going to go find the stuff where Charlie Kirk is a bigot. And it's not really working out that way, is it? Here is a TikToker who himself is black. Posted this on TikTok on Tuesday, and I think there are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people just like
Let me just clarify. Y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. This came out of the blue for me. I never cared for bro content like that. Nothing against what he said. I was just never interested in clicking his videos to see what he had to say. But y'all made me deep dive and go down this rabbit hole because there was no possible way that y'all seen the same video I saw and half the world rejoiced it. And I'm just sitting here like, there's no way. Immediately I'm sitting here like, bro, nobody deserved to go out like that in front of all them kids, in front of his family. And y'all rejoiced it. Y'all celebrated it. And y'all ain't even had nothing to do with it. So I said, bro, he must have said something. I'm missing something. I'm seeing creators that used to talk about God and is going to get on here and compromise their belief, religion, faith to celebrate death. We talking about something that's biblical that you should never do. And folks is coming on here doing it. So I said, I got to deep dive into what he said, because is he on the status of Hitler? So now I'm just starting to, that was a lie. Wow. So, so now I don't know. I'm deep in it now. Pause.
You ever wonder why the left wants to control social media? Gets really tricky to tell repeated lies when people can go on social media and do their own research. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Well, I think it's absolutely backfiring on the left, all these celebrations and then the denials of celebration, these false accusations that Charlie Kirk was a bigot. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. People are going to the videos, is my point. They're looking at it, and they are judging for themselves. Now, of course, there is a large part of our society, unfortunately, that will see 20, 30 videos, and they will hear what they want to hear from it. That's okay. But for the rest of the people out there, they will be persuaded by it. Meaning they'll be persuaded to realize that what the media is telling them is an outright lie. Here's an example of this. This is a part of a longer video where she talks about being on the left and founding a BLM chapter at her university. So this woman is a leftist. And she basically says that the left has left her, that it's no longer a political movement that she recognizes.
I actually had never seen any Charlie Kirk's videos. To be honest, I didn't really know who he was. I had heard of him, but I just didn't really know who he was. So when my coworker told me that Charlie Kirk was shot, I had to look into it, of course, because I didn't know if he was Republican, if he was liberal. I just didn't know. I didn't know where he stood. And ever since then, I've just been down the rabbit hole of Charlie Kirk's videos, and I just can't understand the hatred that this man had gotten. But watching his videos just showed me how dark and demonic people have been in their reaction to his assassination. I had a coworker post to a story, "Let's thank so-and-so for using her birthday powers to kill Charlie Kirk." Comments like that are just so disgusting. I actually can't fathom why anybody would think it's okay to post that. I'm not the biggest Kamala fan, but if she was assassinated, I would not feel joy about that. And the fact that there are so many on the left who support ostracization and assassinations just because you don't agree with somebody just deeply bothers me, and is why I personally cannot associate myself with the left anymore. Any party that is like that, I can't get on board with, personally speaking. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm like a full-on MAGA conservative, because that's not true, but I definitely do resonate more with the idea that the left has left me, because this is a party that I don't even recognize anymore.
This is really beautiful. And again, I believe she's one of many, many people, not just in America, but across the world, who are now going and watching Charlie Kirk's videos because not just of his brutal slaying, but because day in and day out, everybody's telling us what a bigot he is. Okay, let's hear the bigotry. Boy, this is going to be good stuff, right? And then all you have him doing is engaging with people. I've been looking at these videos again. I keep looking for something there that, I'm open-minded. I'll listen if he said something that I object to, I'll do it. Remember my gripe with, I feel even terrible bringing this up. I had here on the show, I got on Charlie Kirk a little bit and I did it respectfully, for sitting down with Gavin Newsom. My point was that we ought not, as conservatives, give Gavin Newsom an opportunity to, whitewash his crazy liberalism. I don't think I want, remember when he was going, Newsom was talking to all these prominent conservative voices on his show. And I don't want to help Newsom at all, turn the other cheek and suddenly become a moderate. So I remember that was my criticism of Charlie Kirk. But in retrospect, it's not a criticism, is it? He, time and again, was willing to talk to the other side. I have a hard time talking to people who have openly rejoiced and been vile. But people who are just misinformed, like one friend who I'm not going to name here in Vegas, a prominent person, a business owner, who somebody sent me some of their comments, which they have since deleted. I'm reaching out. I may have mentioned this yesterday. I sent some texts. We exchanged some texts. I want to sit down and I want to talk it through. Because that's how you do it. And that's what Charlie does. And it did. And that's what we have to do. And I guess my final point is, as we begin welcoming new people to our movement, as we grow our numbers, is it productive that we sit around and we do these purity tests about who is more conservative, who is more MAGA, who is more America first? I don't know. Why would we become exclusionary at a time that we are winning? And we need to win. When I spoke to Alan Stock, Vegas at 8, here on KXNT, yesterday. First time after everything that happened on Wednesday, and I said, I think Alan asked me. I said, well, what happens next? What do we get unity? Whatever. I said, no, we win. That's what we have to do. We have to prevail. We don't affect anything as a minority party. We don't affect any policy. We don't save America if we've got, if we've got less than the majority of the seats in Congress, if we don't have the presidency. I mean, I could do the show regardless of who's in power, but that's not the point, right? I don't want to sit here. This show does great, by the way, when we have when we're the opposition. I want to save the country. I want to make the world a better place for my kids and my grandkids. I am fully and completely invested in this. So winning is key. You got to admire the Democrats. They've always been hyper-focused on winning, even sometimes to the point of doing whatever it takes to win. So the least we can do is to quit arguing. Let's try that for a change. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, the What's Right Show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. And of course, the podcast, What's Right Show, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Find me there.